welcome to this special broadcast. I'm Shireen Bhan. Elon Musk's long-awaited and much-rumoured India visit is finally happening. The CEO of the world's largest EV maker will drive into India this weekend to meet Prime Minister Modi and announce Tesla's plans for making in India. While there is no official confirmation, sources suggest Tesla could invest under the government's recently announced new EV policy, which makes allowances for cheaper imports, but with the promise of making in India over time. Musk's India plans coincide with a significant slowdown in Tesla's key markets like the US and China, where sales have been under pressure. Now, the government hopes Tesla's investment will help position India as a hub for EV manufacturing, with both domestic and foreign players setting up capacity to cater to domestic and exports markets. So, as the Modi government prepares for its third term, we look at the action agenda needed to ensure India's aspirations of being a manufacturing magnet and whether they hold true or not. And speaking of Make in India, let me welcome our guest this evening, India's G20 Sherpa and the Make in India man, Amitabh Kant. Also with us, Amit Kapoor, chairman of the Institute for Competitiveness. They've authored a book called The Elephant Moves. The book traces India's economic journey via the lens of competitiveness and envisions India's path to a developed economy by 2047. Mr. Kant, Amit, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Mr. Kant, as I pointed out, it's been much awaited, much anticipated. Elon Musk finally now visiting India. And I would imagine that, the demand for cheaper imports, that with the government's new EV policy being put on the table, is what has been the trigger in Tesla finally making in India or deciding to make in India.
Well, this has been on the table for a long time because the world is going through a disruption in terms of automobiles. We're going to move from combustion to electric vehicles. And if you look at what has happened in America and in China particularly, and I think we have to move towards this. And I think what Elon Musk is looking at from a Tesla viewpoint is that India is going to be a large market of the future. And this opens up the possibility for him not merely to manufacture electric vehicles for the Indian market, but also for the global markets. But let me also say that Tesla is going to face tough competition in India because Tatas are coming up with a number of new electric vehicles, and on the new EV platform, Mahindra's new vehicles will also come in. So, the Indian consumer is going to benefit in a big way because there will be competition as far as electric vehicles are concerned, and competition will lead to better products, and it'll lead to prices coming down for electric vehicles. But the important thing is that both from the perspective of Tesla and from the perspective of Indian manufacturers, it's important to look not merely at the India market, but look at the global market of exporting from India to other parts of the world as well.
Well, that certainly is the hope and the aspiration. But, you talked about more competition leading to more and better products and eventually making sure that those products are more affordable. Indian industry, Mr. Kant, did oppose the lowering of import tariffs, the lowering of import duties, weren't particularly in favor of that. But, of course, the new EV policy does put a timeline by when companies that come under this route will have to start domestic manufacturing. But, related to that is the issue of subsidies. Now, what we have seen the world over with the current decrease as far as, or the slowdown as far as EV sales are concerned, coinciding with subsidy withdrawal. We've seen that happen even here on the two-wheeler side as the FAME subsidies have reduced while manufacturers are still absorbing some of the losses. So as we move forward now and we look at what happens now with the new FAME, what do you believe the challenge will be for the government as well as for industry?
Well, you need to support two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and you need to support buses because actually from an EV viewpoint, I'm in favor of, mass transportation being supported, and two-wheelers, three-wheelers, because 70% of the Indian market is actually two-wheelers, three-wheelers. Four-wheelers, my personal view as far as Indian market is concerned is you don't need subsidies. The challenge in Indian market is that there is a very high import duty on automobiles. The Indian automobile market has been a very, very protected market. And if you are going to have a duty rate of 110 to 140%, it's a very high rate for, especially for electric vehicles. I mean, I can understand combustion, but when you're moving from combustion to electric vehicles, you need to bring down that rate. That was long called for. And I think a very strategic move has been made that we are going to reduce the import duty so that you can bring vehicles in, test out the Indian market. But we'll do it only if you, in the long run, you do manufacturing in India. The import should actually lead you to do manufacturing in India. That's the objective. So it's a strategically a very good move.
But Mr. Kant, before I get Amit into the conversation, your comment, not just recent, but over the years on calling on the obituary of the ICE category, sir, and that creates headlines every single time, and it's done it again. You still firmly believe that it's going to be the end of ICE?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that actually combustion vehicles will die out. There'll be ups and downs as America is seeing a little bit, but policy is going to drive, the technology itself. You'll see that there will be a very radical shift towards electric vehicles. Hybrid is only an interim phase, but in the long run, it'll be electric vehicles, and that'll be all getting charged with renewable energy. And therefore, my belief is that combustion vehicle is all dead technology. It's not a technology which will survive in the long run at all. We are going to move from 2,000 parts to just 20 parts. And this is going to happen with both two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers. And in the long run, long-distance mobility for buses and for lorries, you'll have a challenge between charging as well as green hydrogen. So there, in the long-distance transport, green hydrogen will play a role. But in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, it will be electric vehicles all the way. Now, the challenge for India will be to put a vast number of charging stations. You need over 1 million charging stations in India, and therefore the state governments will have to play a key role. And the good thing is that Tesla has opened up its IP for the charging stations and made it interoperable. So a number of other vehicles can also get charged on the Tesla charging station, on the Tesla fast charging stations.
Yeah, charging infrastructure has been a key constraint, and the hope is that that will be a focus area now as we move forward. But let me get Amit into the conversation as well. Amit, many thanks. It's a very early morning for you, so appreciate you joining us from the US. There was, of course, the iconic book, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance, which was all about the historic IBM turnaround. Let's talk about elephants can move, Amit, in the context of India's aspiration of being a manufacturing magnet.
So, Shireen, thanks a lot for inviting us here. And when we really talk about the elephant moves, like if you really look at India's history in the last 10 years, and economic history, what we have seen is significant steps that have been taken forward as to how changes are happening. If you really look at the changes per se, the way we are really talking about states and districts, we have actually tried to understand as to how India's sum total is effectively creating competitiveness. Programs like the Aspirational Districts program, programs wherein we are trying to identify as to how Indian districts contribute to the manufacturing total is something that is stunning in terms of how the government is looking at it. It is all about understanding economic geography of India and moving forward with it. So I'm convinced, and there are other things that have happened in terms of how we are really trying to reap the demographic dividend. Two things which I find very, very significant that have actually made the elephant move. One is, of course, focus on higher education. We are seeing newer set of institutions coming up. The second thing is the new education policy, but more so, the whole shift towards entrepreneurial spirit within the country, because it helps us in creating the job creation agenda as well, is something very significant. If you really look at India per se, from a competitiveness note point of view, there are multiple factors which are coming in together to really push forward as to how India is going to be a prosperous nation. Like one is clearly the rising demand conditions. The consumer is becoming more sophisticated. The consumer actually has more disposable income over a period of time, and the enhancement of factor conditions in terms of when we talk about the whole investment in infrastructure that is making the elephant move. And these are the set of things that we are really looking at and sharing within the book as well.